Okay, it's Angelica and I today.
Yeah,
So we're
good.
going to record this for anybody who might be watching this later, who would be interested in this. Um, and maybe if it slots in at the end, Angelica, we'll have you kind of re-say what you mentioned to me at the
hmm
beginning, because who knows, it might be helpful for one of the ladies too. It's just a good guide point. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about today is just this idea of like mothering ourselves since we're all mothers. And I can't, babe, do you mind just closing the door? Just if Ella's door is not open. Okay, it's okay. Just making sure. Um, just because, especially even with us being home, having our kids home all the time, it just sucks up so much energy and so much time. And I felt that at the beginning of COVID here that I didn't give enough mothering attention to myself, that I actually ended up like hurting my back. And so like all last week, I'm just like no working in the evening. You know, I just kind of like put my foot down. I was like, okay, that's it. I got to just like take care of myself. And the more that I just kind of took that break, like took that time off, I was just like, oh my goodness, like mothering ourselves as much as we mother other people is so important. And I through this process of just contemplating this idea, I came across a podcast, and it was actually Gabby Bernstein and
hmm
Rachel Platten, and they had brought up in it like a Buddhist mindfulness practice. And I've heard of this before, but then they like plucked it out of the ether. I haven't heard of it for so long. But the acronym is R.A.I.N. Okay,
hmm
R-A-I-N. Have you heard of this before, Angelica?
No.
So basically, the way I'll break it down of what the acronym means, and then we can go into them a little bit more deeply. But the first one is recognition.
hmm
And it's kind of like what you were saying at the beginning, Angelica, of like this
hmm
list of quote unquote sins. Recognition, like be brutally fucking honest with how you're feeling, you know? And so it's just like, well, how am I feeling? And we need to label it, right? Because I know for me, when it starts to like the week before my period, obviously the hormones are, you know, raving and stuff, and I can notice the irritation of just like all the junk on the floor, and just my kid just like not shutting up for a second, and just like all the things, right? Whereas like 3 weeks of the month, it's like you don't even notice. But when it comes to that point, it's like, whoa. So I've conditioned myself to be like hyperactive, watching myself and being honest, like keeping myself in check. And that's part of the mothering. Like we keep our kids in check. We got to keep ourselves in check, right? So it's
hmm
this like radical recognition of like how we're feeling, and name it and be honest, right? Just be
hmm
so honest. And because that's the number one thing, is to be honest and to name it. So that was the first one, recognition. The second one is acceptance.
hmm
And I love that so much, being there, because it's like, as soon as, especially us who are more like conscious beings, if we find ourselves being agitated, upset, irritated, angry, the first thing the ego wants to do is judge us. The first thing it wants to do is go, what's your problem? You know better than this. Like, what are you doing? Right? But instead, if we just remember, okay, no, recognition, okay, this is how I'm feeling, okay, acceptance, and just accept it. Okay, I feel angry. I feel angry right now, you know, then it dissipates that fuse, right? It doesn't compound and really be destructive. Instead, it could be understood and channeled, because it's really just energy that needs to come up. It needs to be channeled differently. So acceptance is massive, and kind of that feeling of like, you know, when our kids are upset or frustrated or sad, we have this feeling of wanting to like embrace them and just
hmm
like make sure they're okay and make sure that, you know, all is well. We need to do the same thing with us. Embrace ourselves in those moments. Be like, okay, I'm going to either put myself on timeout or I'm going to let myself just take a moment and be still. Our thing here is I'm going to go change my mind. That's what we say. Ella, do you need to go change your mind? Yes. And then she'll go off and change her mind, you know? And I have to do the same thing sometimes. We all do, right? So that's part of it. Acceptance is the second one. The third one is my favorite. It's investigation.
hmm
Investigation, right? And this is basically where we have the willingness to see clearly. right? Because when we're in the actual emotion, we can't really see anything. Once we accept it, we diffuse it a bit, but we need to investigate. So we want to investigate on 4 levels. The first one is like the body. Like, how is my body responding to this? Where am I holding this anger or frustration? And just kind of like notice it, bring conscious awareness to it. The second one is the feelings, again, like label it, but also kind of like being like, okay, I feel uncomfortable right now, or whatever we feel. So I feel uncomfortable right now. And then also the feeling of like, well, can I move past and like beyond this feeling of feeling uncomfortable? Kind of like, what is behind it? Like, in the
Mhm.
Course, when Jesus talks about like the clouds in the sky, and those
Mhm.
clouds are like the darkness that are preventing you from seeing your true thoughts. I kind of feel like this is the stage where it's like, okay, let me just let the thoughts and the clouds like brush over me. Like, what's past the thoughts? Can I see past these thoughts? And so that's like a big one there. And then through investigation, you also want to investigate the thoughts. Like, are there patterns associated with this? Are there images associated with this? Is this reminding me of my parents? Like, where did I learn this?
Mhm.
So just kind of inquisitive curiosity of where it's coming from. And then the last one is basically like, is this suffering self like created, right?
Mhm.
Like, are you doing this to yourself? Like, is this necessary? Like, you do really need to do this right here. Like, what are you clinging to? Like, are you resisting letting this go? Like, all questions like this that bring us to the point of like our eternal nature. And it's like, okay, well, is this anxiety that I'm feeling right now, am I doing this to myself? And can I choose otherwise in this moment? And then that's when we shift to like the N, which is nurture, like nurture with self compassion, right?
Mhm.
Like, okay, like I'm dealing with this right now. I'm going through this right now. And that's totally okay. And for me, one of the things that I've been doing a lot lately, it's only been about a week, but it's been consistent every day. Part of my like nurturing compassion towards myself mothering thing is I've created like it's an Ayurveda thing, and I'm actually taking a course right now, which I'm really excited about. I haven't really started the course
Uh-huh.
because this is just from like the books I've been reading. But I take olive oil and I put it in like a small glass jar, and I add maybe like 10 drops of like high quality lavender oil. And then I give myself like a self massage, like
Mhm.
all the way, like my arms, my legs, my breasts, my belly, like my butt, like my feet, my whole entire body. Right. And this does so many things that um, the biggest thing for me is like the lymphatic system, like really like clearing out the stuck energy. It's also like it helps to detox and like increase your immunity because it is helping with the detox. And it feels so good. It's like, I get to give myself the type of massage I want. I didn't
Mhm.
realize how much of a loving thing that is to do, and how much I really haven't given like attention like that to like my belly or like my breasts. And because it's just almost like even when I'm in the shower, they just kind of get washed over. Like, I don't
Mhm.
really pay attention. But this is a way to really pay attention and bring that self-nurturing aspect to ourselves, right? So that's the main thing that I wanted to have, is like the framework of us thinking about this topic, that we need to mother ourselves,
Mhm.
and that will a lot of times come when we have to deal with whatever feeling, emotion, things kind of pop up for us to deal with. And this is just a really simple, good framework to take ourselves through, if we want to get from beginning, middle, end.
Mhm.
Um, so so yeah, what kind of speaks to you the most in me laying this out like this, Angelica? Is there anything that really speaks to you? Anything that's like, okay, I need to focus on that more, or
I For me, I think the the challenging part, or the hardest part, it's the acceptance. Give me a sec.
mm, sure.
What?
Mine. When you're grown up, do you tell what this came with?
No, I don't, honey. I'm gonna have to be in a meeting. Go with
Mike,
daddy.
Mike, try telling Fairy little fine little car.
Okay, but I
Remote
don't have Siri right
control.
now. Okay,
And then
honey.
just call me.
I will.
Oh, she's so sweet.
And when that match was
My husband must
this
be in the
one.
bathroom or
Probably the
something.
exact moment he's in the bathroom. Totally.
Or something. He ran out. Uh, Okay, so acceptance, I understand. Like, for example, yesterday, I need to do this, like work, like where I'm gonna write down all my resentments. And there's a few that I feel stuck. And I'm always get nervous, like this high expectation of getting it right, getting it perfect, getting it all out, or it's on me. So that's when I start getting nervous or anxious. And then the acceptance for me, like I get there's two, and one's like a fake, like brushing it off. And the acceptance is like, almost like letting this loving um space, being in this loving space where it's like, hey, nothing's happening. Like we're just going to go your pace or something like that. I don't know that, like I can tell the difference. But to be there, I think it's a challenging part. Like and I compare it like almost to someone who, like, to me, it's like once I start that behavior, it's kind of like an alcoholic. Once they start drinking, like they don't
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
So once I started getting nervous, and then after an hour, I want to sit down and do the work. It's like, oh, I just have so much trouble. It's like I'm already with this negative thoughts and this fearful state, that I guess the best thing for me to do would be just to jump to nurture and then come back to acceptance. Because
That's yes.
what I need right now, right then, is just, to lay down, drink some tea, or just call a friend or something.
Yeah.
Like the habit of self-care. It's just actually something that might work better, because I do understand acceptance. There's a big difference when I feel that I come clean. Like I'm looking for that loving nature to guide me through this process, and not me doing it and me feeling like if it's wrong, then it's on you, something like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, all that is so important. And I think you're right that, and I've noticed that too, that once like a trigger happens, you almost have to let it burn off,
Hmm.
right? You have to almost just let it burn off. And once you've almost accepted the bait, even it says somewhere, like, even if you just accept one idea, it can just take you on this entire train, right? And I think that that's part of it is also being like, okay, I'm nervous right now, and that's okay.
Hmm.
That could be part of the acceptance. It's like
Hmm.
the first part of the acceptance. And then you're right. I think the number one thing that you would need to do would be to nurture yourself. Right. And
Hmm.
even I just finished doing the talk on my page, right, or whatever, my profile, about the idea of gratitude. And even if
Hmm.
it could be like, I'm grateful that I'm even recognizing that I'm afraid and nervous right now.
Hmm.
Right. Like, thank you that I know there's another way from this. The end, right? And it's just
Uh-huh.
those small little tiny things of like, okay, how can I start the process of shifting how I feel? And
Uh-huh.
then, yeah, going back to the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like, there's a difference between just like accepting it and be like, okay, it is what it is. I feel
Uh-huh.
upset and angry, and then like letting it drift on by. No, 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 no. Like R.A.I.N and like correction, like it's all about undoing the error that brought those negative emotions to you to begin with.
Hmm.
And you're right, letting this like loving presence be felt in you and
Hmm.
to work in you.
Hmm.
And that
And that's the
does,
real mothering, right? Like
it
the
is
real mother who's
real
loving,
mother.
accepting,
Yes,
and supportive. Hmm.
yes, exactly, exactly. And that's why we can ask the question too, like, well, if Ethan was nervous and he was upset, like, how would I treat him?
Hmm.
Right. And then just start with that. And it's almost like then we can start to talk to ourselves like we're this, you know, young child who needs help right now, because quite frankly, that's what happens. Like, we almost revert to
Hmm.
childhood. We like go
Hmm.
back in the past. We're like living these thoughts of the past that are just like
Hmm.
spinning in our head. And so it needs that. Um, and so it's just, yeah, important to remember and be easy on ourselves that we're going to experience these emotions. We're in the human condition, but we can be that loving presence that we need, you know?
Hmm.
And it's connecting with like the ultimate mother,
Hmm.
right? That is inside of all of us, and that comes out when we're with our kids, you know? And And then it's also too like taming the beast that also gets triggered by our kids because they're meant to also like bring out our shit, right? So it goes both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
So good. So I kind of like the main questions that I wanted to ask us kind of include what we're talking about with this R.A.I.N approach and going through these steps, but it also links to where we're at like collectively. But actually, let me ask you this. What's going on in your community right now? Like, are you guys starting to open the doors with COVID? Are
Hmm.
stores starting to open? Yeah, that's starting to happen, right? Yeah.
Got my hair done.
It looks really pretty. I know. I was gonna say.
Uh, yeah, they're opening
Okay.
very small. Like the kids' place where Ethan used to go to get his haircut, they closed down.
Oh,
They're not
wow.
gonna make it. They're not. Yeah, they're. I don't think it's profitable, to have so few customers and so much to do. So yeah, so they're starting to open a little
Okay.
bit. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, same here. Same here. But that's the thing is I wanted to ask the questions. Okay, so knowing that the doors are opening again,
Hmm.
knowing that we're going to have to get back to some sort of normalcy. It'll never be old
Mm,
normal. It'll be new normal. What are the things that are going to like remain the same for us with these getting back to so-called normal? And what are the things that we want to be different? And
mhm,
maybe I'll start because I've just been thinking about this a lot. And I think that this is an important question because we need to keep in mind mothering ourselves and mothering our home system and not just going back the way things were
mhm,
before. Right. So it's like, no, this is the line drawn in the sand. This is what is unacceptable. I'm not going to continue.
mhm,
So for me, the things that are going to stay the same since going through all of this is we're going to continue to wash our hands like fiends. We're going to continue to social distance, even if we can see people. Most things remain the same because we work from home. I mean, Ella's here. That's the
mhm,
most different kind of like, I guess, most difficult part per se. So those things are all going to be the same. But then when I started to think about like, well, what's going to be different? What's going to change from this? And I realized what's really going to change is the boundaries that we put around holidays.
mhm,
Like I just can't go to every single stinking holiday that pops up that everybody thinks we should be together and oh hurrah. Like I can't play along with that anymore. So there's definitely going to be some specific boundaries and maybe, open up my doors and if people, want to come here or whatever a little bit, that's okay, but doing things around holidays differently,
mhm,
and really realizing how powerful online gatherings have been for my family and like even friends. I mean, I feel like I've almost talked to some more family and friends during
mhm,
COVID than I did before COVID. You know,
mhm.
and I want to remember that it doesn't always have
Yeah.
to be like, okay, let's get together. Okay, great, we'll get together, and it never happens. It'd be like, hey, we're gonna talk on this date at this time in this room, and then you still kind of get the community closeness feel without it always having to be in physical form or people feeling left out because they're not, right? So I really want to include online stuff with my family and friends a lot more going
Mhm,
forward and let that be part of the new normal for us. um, so those are like the main things right now. But I'm curious about you. Have you thought about these questions at all? Do you kind of know some things that are going to stay the same or maybe be different?
Not not so much. I definitely like we already had a birthday invitation, and I'm like, I don't think, we still are ready to mingle with a lot of people, and especially in person, and for children,
Yeah.
especially. Um, uh, the children are going to be here, and one of the things that I do want to continue is it's like now that they're not exposed to outside and everything, I don't know, it's been nice. It's been very good that the kids like are eating home meals and we're just spending more time together and playing more together and just taking them for trail walks and stuff like that. So I definitely see the benefit in that, not running around getting them places and getting myself in.
Yes, that's been really huge too. And I've really realized what, like, honestly, a bit of a blessing this has been because,
Mm-hmm.
Ella being 5 next month, like, holy crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like this age is just so beautiful. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard, but it's beautiful. And I feel like her being able to be home and me experience it so closely and so in depth, just like soaking it in, I
Mm-hmm.
know there will be, no like regrets in her growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like I could see how much it was already with her going 5 days a week to school and then coming home and just seeing her in the evening. Like that's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of time away. So like I've been really blessed that she's here. And like Tom and I have even contemplated her staying home on Fridays or something. We're not sure if that'll happen, but
Mm-hmm.
things like that, because yeah, like the time together is really, really special. And I've really, really enjoyed that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll be keeping that in mind too. Um, and yeah, like it's going to be hard. But I don't know. I think it's just part of their new normal. And even though like we are physically distancing more, it's like people I find are helping each other more. At least my community is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's brought us a lot closer together. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like we're family around here, and
Mm-hmm.
we've got each other's backs. And that's a beautiful thing too that I want to continue to cultivate. That like I'm not going to stop making my neighbor's bread just because COVID's over. Like that's just not how I just can't. So yeah, I really see that, and I have this big pull towards how can I further help my community,
Mm-hmm.
even a greater scale outside just my neighbors. Like how can I help my greater community? So I'm really starting to like ask those questions, and we're buying local and making sure we're buying from farms and like
Mm-hmm.
not choosing Amazon, and like even though I still do, I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
lie, but I'm trying not to.
Mm-hmm.
And just really trying to keep it close to home and like build gardens and like really just like care for ourselves in all of these ways, and just kind of, yeah, just make things more simple. Keep it
Mm-hmm.
simple. Like things don't have to be complicated and so busy and running here and running there and going to all these activities and all these crafts and all these, like, just, it's okay to be home with your children and your family. It's okay. So I feel like that's a big thing that's gonna, you know, be at the center of my mind continually, even though the doors are opening and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I've heard over here there's nothing for sure, obviously, but there are talks about like just starting school a couple of days a week. Just sending
Oh,
the kids a couple of days. I don't know if like half on Mondays, half on Tuesday, then back on Wednesday. Like they're still I guess studying logistics and what can help or what can be possible. But yeah,
you know what they've been doing here?
mm,
Like this morning, they're doing it every Thursday now. It's like a Google Meet,
okay.
right? So they'll meet in the classroom that they have on Google, and all of the kids were in there today with their teacher.
Oh, that's
So she does
awesome.
everything, like the morning songs, the activities, talking to
Hmm.
the kids. I thought that was amazing.
Hmm.
I think it should be like, not all the time, obviously, but like, to have it sprinkled in that it's half online, half in person, I think could be super beneficial. And even knowing that I have that half hour, 45 minutes where she's with her teacher, like I got so much work done.
Uh-huh.
And not have to be racing the clock because I don't want her to be watching TV too long.
Hmm.
So that was really refreshing too. But I think that, yeah, parts like that could really, really make a difference. Is Ethan online at all? Like, do they have any
No,
online
he
stuff?
was just in preschool, and over here it's
Yeah.
not. I don't know if the county, the city doesn't pay for it, or it's not. He was
Oh,
going to a part-time preschool, private
I see.
preschool.
Okay. I
So they
see.
just closed up.
Okay. All right. Are you in touch with their teachers at all, or is it totally done?
No, I didn't have their phone numbers or anything, so I have no.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. See, that's so curious. Yeah. And what year was Ethan born?
2015.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Same
only
as
like 3 days apart
That's what I
from
thought. That's what I thought. Because
you.
here it's
In
called
10.
JK. Like she's literally in JK, like
Hmm.
school, like
Hmm.
regular, like junior kindergarten.
Okay.
So we kind of like missed preschool.
Hmm.
right? Like we just didn't send her to preschool. So that, yeah, I guess that's the only difference here. So they have the full-on classroom. I think that that's a lot to have the kids going 5 days a week at this age. You know, that was a lot. So, but yeah, so curious. Yeah. So those are like the main things that I wanted to bring forward. And obviously if there's more ladies here, we would have gone around the circle a little bit more.
Yeah, but this is so good. It's so important because, like you said, we're with the children a lot, and it can get unbalanced, at least for me,
Yep.
where I just start sitting down, like waiting for them to have a need. And I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, now that the weather's better, I've been going for walks and it's like more than an hour and no guilt over here. It's like, honey, help me with Ethan. Because
Yes.
then it makes a difference through the day.
Yeah. That's a huge difference. And I've tried to make a thing of that too. And even like today when we're going outside, like I made a specific point of bringing my book, bringing my blanket, sitting down, getting her set up with all her stuff and be like, okay, I'm going to sit over here and read a book now. You know, like really trying to be like, you can play by yourself. Like we're trying to establish that she's not the best at playing by herself. Sometimes, I mean, she can get in her grooves and she's good. But she still needs like a lot of attention. But it's so important, and to be able to pass them off to the guys is everything. Like Tom knows when it's his time and he'll watch her, and I got her on my times, which is the majority of the time. But that sharing can really save our sanity. Otherwise it's just too much. Like there's sometimes I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't be done. I'm like, I'm done. Yeah.
Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Take
over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of I hear a lot. A part of growing up is just believing that we have to do it all, that we can't do it all, and sometimes it's just saying, "But not today."
Not today. Not today. But that's back to the idea of like trying to be a superhero. Like we're not superheroes. Like we can't do everything all the time. And when it comes to like taking care of the kids, attending to their needs, the food, the cleanup, the entertainment, like it's exhausting. And so it's like we can't expect ourselves to be superheroes and to do everything all the time and hit all the marks, plus self-care, plus work, plus this, plus that. That's just crazy beans. And I really think that that's why it takes a male and a female to have a baby, because you need two people, to care for this kid, to ensure that everybody comes out alive.
Yeah.
And there's no guilt in that. Like I do not know a mom who doesn't like want to pull her hair out sometimes. And so I think that that's really important to remember. And then at the same time, be like, okay, this is my moment to mother myself. That's it. And so I'm going to be patient and kind and loving towards myself to the best of my ability, as I would for my kid. And then the more we do it for ourselves, the better we can show up for our kid, and then the better we show up for ourselves. So it's like, it's a no-brainer when it comes to self-care. How are you doing with your kind of self-care routines these days, Angelica, for the most part?
I think I'm doing very good.
Awesome.
Yeah. I just feel lately like good. Like,
Good.
yeah. Yeah, just so much energy. Yeah, I gotta get my idea out of like the winters and the cold and the being stuck at home. It's like there's so much still that pulls me down. But I love it, when the sun's out, when I can go out, when I can walk, when I can open the windows and get fresh air.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like we do. We scream that too. Yeah, I'm feeling that too. And that's why like I moved officially tonight to having Thursdays at 8:00 p.m. to be my time to do my lives, because I'm just like, I want to be outside at noon. I'm not doing my lives at noon anymore. know, I want to be outside. Like it
Mhm.
calls me. And I
Mhm.
think that that's just as important, like to be around nature and to be soaking up the vitamin C and just to have the chance to even walk by a person, you know, like even that is, I had this experience the other day where I went for a walk. It was just me and it was lovely. And I walked by this woman and she has these two dogs. I'm like, and they're so cute. And I was like saying hi to the dogs, saying hi to her, completely forgot about COVID, like right
Mhm.
over my head. And I'm like standing next to her, like, you know, not side by side or anything, but close enough that you probably should have taken a step back. And then she goes, oh, it's interesting times we're in. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. Like step back from her. And I'm like, whoa, like I completely forgot
Mhm.
what was going on. But then in one sense, it's almost like COVID also makes people be more conscious, like more
Mhm.
conscious about yourself, your own cleanliness, your own health, conscious of the other person, how far are they, how close are they? And I even just think that that mindfulness is an enhancement for everybody. And I hope that that's something that we can keep carrying forward, that, you know, instead of like looking away when someone's walking, it's like greet them.
Mhm.
And I'm finding people are doing that a lot more now. Because they just feel so bored inside themselves. They're like, there's a human.
Yes, yes. I really like to say good morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Well,
right?
coming from California is like just do what you
Just
need to
go.
do, get to
Yeah.
from A to B. And over here, like people are so relaxed. Hi, how are
Good.
you? Yeah, just walk, drive the car, sit on a porch. It's
Yes.
nice. Yeah.
Good. 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 Samesies. um. So I think that that's it. Those are the main things that I kind of wanted to bring up today.
Mhm.
Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up or dive more into?
And I can think of. Oh, yeah, I just remember I was going to mention something. So I think one of the other reasons that I also felt like, okay, this is my time, because with the COVID, like you were saying, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I do believe like either God is going to save us or our good health is going to save us because that's all we have right now. Like
Yep.
there's
Yep.
So I was like, okay, so and I have the time,
Yes.
thankfully. I was like, so yeah, my focus has been on that, and
Good.
I'm not gonna lie, sometimes are more challenging and want to revert, but it's been good.
Good.
Mm, mm,
Good. And you know how like I completely agree. And the way that I see that is almost like God is helping us through our health,
mhm,
right? And all of this is to point to that the health of the planet, the choices of the food that we eat, where is it coming from? What am I putting in my body? Like all of these things, I feel like he's helping us through that because as we're kind of learning is that like we're responsible. Like responsible is the key to salvation. And I feel like COVID is like a ticket to us being responsible for how we think about ourselves and food and the planet and all of these things. And so I feel like it's coming through that and asking us to pay attention. And I even noticed in myself and in my own life, like I had one level of health, obviously, but I feel
mhm,
like I've upgraded to even another level.
mhm,
Like I'm just at another level of all the things that I'm doing
mhm,
in the kitchen. And so like even to myself, I'm like, whoa, like I've even upgraded when I didn't even think I could upgrade,
mhm,
you know? I'm like, okay, so that's cool. That's really beautiful and important. And I love now that the summertime's coming because we could do like more picnics and, you
mhm,
know, fruits and berries and all that good stuff. All that yummy
mhm,
stuff. And I really notice it in the people too that they're starting to realize it. I have a lot more people reaching out to me, like a lot more like curiosity, like just people talking about it, like just wanting to be healthier and know what that even means and how to do that. So that's
mhm.
really great too. Because yeah, I think people have never really been in the position before where they have all these like raw material foods, and then they're like, okay, now what? I'm like, oh my god, gold mine! I can do this and this and this and this and this. This makes me so happy.
Uh-huh.
And so I really realized that, yeah, with people too, that they're starting to have to look at food differently because you can't just like go eat out like we used
Mhm,
to. So that's a really big shift for shizzle. And that's amazing to hear that that's, landing for you too. And that's what you guys
mhm,
are, that's what you're doing over there.
mhm.
That's really
Yeah, it's
beautiful to
good.
hear.
even the kids, I see them. I've always seen like, okay, that's possible, but yeah, it's like, yeah, it is possible. But
Yeah.
yeah, no pressure on
Good.
the time as long as I
Yeah.
I, I just keep, at it one day, another day,
Yeah.
going back to it.
That's it. That's all that it is. Consistency.
hmm
That's it. Consistency. And then if we have the one bad day, it really doesn't matter because we're still on the consistent path of where we're going. Right. So as
hmm
long as we don't have that mentality that's like, oh my God, I had a bad day. Let me just wait till Monday and have 3 bad days. It's like, no, 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 no. You had a bad meal. Like, who cares? Like in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. But what matters is just getting back on the consistent train of health every day, just constantly coming back and going, coming back and going. And then it's just
hmm
like part of our being.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Huh? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So yeah, I love it. So I think that's
Yeah.
it. So let me stop the recording. Thank you, anybody who watched this. We love you. Peace be with you.
Yeah.